Hello, welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. Hello there, I'm Director Tom Arnone, and I'm here today to talk something that's very important. We hope we never have to deal with it, but unfortunately it does come, and we've been spared for many different times on our storms the last few years, but we always have to be prepared and informed, and I'm fortunate enough to have our sheriff here, Sheriff Sean Golden, that takes care of and makes sure that the county is very prepared. Welcome, Sheriff.
Pleasure. Great to be with you.
So September's coming, and I know it's always on the back of everybody's mind on are we going to have a mild or a really impacted hurricane season? And so what measures do you take in place to move forward?
So September, as you know, is Preparedness Month, and it's part of a whole series of months that go on where we preach preparedness to our residents. So plan, prepare, stay informed is the motto that we use in the county, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the theme there this year from the national FEMA is plan our older adults, and so that's really what we're targeting this year, is how we work with our seniors and how we get them to prepare and plan for a natural disaster, and if we call on them to evacuate.
I hear so many seniors say that, like they're at senior events or something like that, and your organization is in there giving them that information. They're so thankful. But obviously, you have to have somebody run the day-to-day operations. And I know we officially appoint them, but obviously we take the recommendation of you.
Sure.
And I know you hired a new and recommended a new OEM director.
Well, the county commissioner is always so supportive of our public safety, and your appointment of Scott Nielsen as our emergency management coordinator comes on the heels of Mike Opagart's retirement. He was one of the best in the state, and I know Scott has already hit the ground running. He's certainly prepared. He has years and years of experience in public safety. He started in 2002 as one of our public safety telecommunicators.
Oh, really?
Worked his way up through the ranks, became a supervisor, and all while doing so, taking courses through FEMA, through other OHS&P, Homeland Security, so that he would be prepared when we called on him to step up as emergency management coordinator. He's doing a tremendous job.
And you know what I like the most about what you've implemented in so many different programs, but to keep it simple. Because people, listen, at the end of the day, if you're in a situation, you don't want complication or it to be complicated. And you created this thing called Know Your Zone there. And can you talk a little bit
Know
about
Your
that?
Zone is modeled after Florida, and who better to model a program to? Certainly they deal with storms. This was when our emergency management team spoke with some folks down in Florida, and they have Know Your Zone. Know Your Zone is where you can put in your address on the website or our mobile application. And that mapping allows you to know exactly down to the address zone A, B, C, or D. And so that allows us to call on zone A for evacuation, zone B for evacuations.
Oh, wow.
So many questions from our residents during Sandy was, am I in the flood zone? Do I have to evacuate? I don't know if my area will flood. We took all that guesswork out of it through county GIS and our sheriff's office GIS. We mapped the whole entire county. With Know Your Zone, you see the signs on different roadways where they're next to the evacuation signs. And you can go on the mobile app or our website and look at zone A, B, C, or D, put in your address. It will tell you what zone you're in. So if we do call upon you to evacuate zone A, everyone is clear on who that is.
And is that comparable to the flood zone map?
So it's not. We use the flood zone, but more so we use storm surge models to make that happen. So it's not, and we put the disclaimer on there. It's not the flood map per se, right? That's a different mapping program, and certainly you can view those. Those are publicly available too on our emergency management website. But this is modeled after surges and predictions on what that would be, and we did a lot of that after Sandy. So it really is a model program, and we're the only one in the state that uses it.
It's incredible, and it's simple. And it gives people the ability to understand it. And the one thing that I personally always wanted to ask you a question on is when you drive down the roads and you see evacuation routes. So is there a certain criteria you guys have on those roads so whether it's manned differently?
Yeah, we have, again, part of Scott's emergency management team and his folks are to map out those evacuation routes. To make sure we can handle traffic, to make sure we can handle some contraflow, on Route 138 and 195. That's contraflow where we use the oncoming lanes, we shut them down and we get more vehicles to evacuate the shore area. So all those are closely looked at with county planning and engineering as well as the state DOT. because we use those roads for evacuation routes. And so they're selectively picked, and that's so we can guide the traffic when it comes down to making that call for evacuation.
So I know there's one that's kind of controversial, and we talk about it often, the one on 66.
Route 66, we're hoping for improvements on Route 66.
And we're working hard.
Certainly a single lane each way, with the development of Asbury Park and Long Branch and everything, that would certainly help us out. And hopefully we can get a contraflow plan after the state does their work on Route 66.
So obviously there's nothing like on-job training. And you and Monmouth County has had the experience between Irene and Sandy. So what have you learned there? What have you planned? What do you know a little different from there then and now?
Sure. Well, it coincides with the theme about having our seniors prepare this year, and so one of the largest challenges for us during Sandy and Irene were the evacuation of our seniors. Do they have a plan, and are they mobile? Are they on oxygen? What doctors do they have? Medications? All of these things that go in with caring for our seniors become a challenge when it comes to emergency management, and particularly when we ask them to evacuate during a potential disaster or storm. And so we came up with a simple acronym, STORM. Seniors taking on readiness measures. We've hit all of the senior communities and a lot of senior centers throughout Monmouth County. Touched over 3,000 seniors.
Wow,
gave
that's
over
amazing.
2,500 kits out to the seniors. They have a little homework, which means it's plan, prepare, stay informed. How are you going to meet those goals, right? And so we have them write down a plan. In other words, who are their emergency contacts? Are they mobile? Do they have a place to stay outside of those zones that we talked about where they can evacuate to? Or do we have to provide some type of transportation and shelter, right? Prepare. Do they have a kit ready? Batteries in case of power outage, some water jugs so they can store some water, a battery or hand crank operated radio so that they can listen to some information. And so they do that homework for us, and in return, when we come back, they keep it, and we hand them a kit that has.
So
all
is
the
that
preparedness in it.
the necessities that you feel they need so they're able to keep that?
Yep. And in there is all the information about who their doctor is, what medications they're on, if they need physical assistance, and all that. So.
And I understand there's something for the seniors to register.
Yep, register ready. And here again, I'm proud to say that Scott and his emergency management team have led the way. We have the most registrations out of any county in the entire state.
That's
and so
impressive.
we've really taken great strides to make sure that those seniors register. Register ready is so that seniors or those with disabilities can go online. They can register their name and their information so that we know if they have to be evacuated or we have to touch them in some way during an emergency, all their information is available to us.
And something else that's very important, obviously, you could only do so much. You only have so much manpower. So it is so nice to be able to, and to your next program that you're implementing, where people are helping people. Residents are helping residents. And I know you created something for seniors to be assisted by maybe neighbors or something like that.
So we, Scott and his team are implementing the CERT program, Citizens Emergency Response Team, and that helps. That's a team of volunteers. It's a 7-week program where they come in, they learn about emergency management. More so, though, they learn how to help us do shelter operations. They learn how to help us do points of distribution, what we call pods. So there's supplies that we're distributing out to those in need if you get hit by a natural disaster.
That's amazing.
A tremendous program, CERT. We have over 40 participants, and they'll be at the ready to volunteer for us and help us during a disaster.
So obviously, the way in today's world, the way to get the message out is through social media. And I have to tell you, yours is amazing, and I don't know who handles it inside your office, if you handle it or you have a staff that handles it.
I have a staff that handles social media.
I will tell you, we are so fortunate here in Monmouth County to be able to get the information from our sheriff's office and our OEM on this very, very important time when your storms, people are wondering what's going on. So how do you work that? How do you get that message out there so frequent? And
well, it's funny, during storms and during a state of emergency, if there's any state of emergency issued by the governor or the county commissioners, we automatically activate like a PIO team, a team that have access to our social media so that they'll take the different aspects or different information and start blasting it out on Instagram and Facebook and websites and our mobile application. So the mobile application's been big. You can download the mobile application from Monmouth County Sheriff's Office.
So I was gonna ask you.
You can go to the Google Store or the Apple Store, download it. It's free, but it has a lot of useful information. It has ready.gov information to make those kits at home. It has a plan information to make those plans and stay informed. It has automatic push notifications out if we do have emergency blasts that we have to give to our residents and emergency information. That's all on the mobile application. So along with our social media, the mobile app and the website, we really are pushing out a lot of information to our residents.
So as everybody knows here, I'm a big cheerleader for Monmouth County, but this department, I can't speak enough for, and I want to thank him. Please thank your staff on behalf of the commissioners, because we so much appreciate what you guys do to keep us safe. I've been there. I've been in their center there when everybody's hands-on and the way they are so professional and so worried about the public.
The Emergency Operations Center is really one of a kind in the state of New Jersey. Scott and his team, and it takes a true team. It's all of the LEPC group, the county administration, all the departments, the health department, as we saw it all come together during the pandemic and COVID-19. You see that Operations Center do its work. And listen, right now, as we're talking, Scott and his team are planning for something in the background. And, we always say, and we got a big motto going into that Operations Center, hope is not a plan. We have a plan to execute in a multitude of disasters, not just during hurricane season.
Well, thank you. And a great segment here, a ton of information, and there's so much more. So people can reach out to your site constantly. But, and I say this over and over, Monmouth County is fortunate because we have a sheriff that is actually from that world. And you know what? People could talk the talk, but this is somebody that actually has walked the walk. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank your staff, and I want to thank the public for listening. And please be safe. This was our segment for Monmouth in Focus. Enjoy the day. Thank you.